Senkuhaku Hachijuroku. ひどいビデオゲームは核戦争を引き起こす。日本でしか発売されていませんが、ひどいクオリティ世界に届きました。You know, there's nothing more disappointing than a media franchise that just feels like it was perfect for video game adaptations. And then much of the video game adaptations it does get turns out complete crap. A lot of people feel this way with Superman video games, but I think the Japanese equivalent to Superman would be Fist of the North Star. Hokuto no Ken, known in the West as Fist of the North Star, was a manga series published in Weekly Shonen Jump between 1983 and 1988, written by Buron-san and illustrated by Tetsuo Hara, which basically asks the question, what if Bruce Lee was the main character of the Mad Max films? Taking place in a post-apocalyptic world, we follow Kenshiro, or just Ken, master of the martial art known as Hokuto Shinken, where he's able to kill opponents instantly by striking their pressure points. It's pretty helpful considering the world is now survival of the fittest, where the strong take what they like from the weak without hesitation. And with Ken in the world, maybe he can make it just a little bit of a better place to live. The grim style of Buron-san's writing and Hara's realistic brilliance led the manga to become one of the biggest franchises of Japan in the 80s, because everything about it is iconic, and even to this day people are still saying Omae wa mo shinderu. NANI?! However, because of the harsh subject matter, I don't think any toy company tried to swoop in and grab a toy license for Hokuto no Ken, even if Kenshiro was in the same magazine at the same time as Dragon Ball and Captain Tsubasa. So when Hokuto no Ken video games started entering the scene, Bandai was nowhere to be seen, meaning the license wasn't so secure. And 1986 would turn out to be the big year for Hokuto no Ken fans, because they would get 3 video game adaptations across 3 platforms, but also an animated movie in theaters. NX would put out the first one on PCs in May 1986 with Hokuto no Ken Violence Gekiga Adventure on various Japanese computers with an adventure game. Which is nice and all, and I can't tell you of the game's quality, but I don't think Hokuto no Ken fans really want a standard little PC game. What they want is some action. And if you wanted some action, all you had to do was wait until July with Hokuto no Ken on the Sega Mark III, better known as the Master System, where the game is certainly an action game, albeit mediocre. Yeah, Kung Fu Master this is not, but at least it was the right idea. Also worth mentioning is this game did get a license-free makeover when it was brought to the West a few months later as Black Belt, including some box art that was one of the reasons people stayed away from the Master System. Alas, the Mark III wasn't a huge success compared to the Famicom. But thankfully, Hokuto no Ken Famicom fans had to only wait a few weeks later when the Famicom version was released and brought to us courtesy of Toei Animation, who coincidentally were the production team behind the Hokuto no Ken anime adaptation between 1984 and 1988. Now they already did publish a game on the Famicom, Baltron, a shoot 'em up I basically described as released straight to the bargain bin, because there was nothing special or interesting about it at all. I mean, it wasn't even based off any franchise Toei produced. Well, here we go, Hokuto no Ken, one of the most hyped animes of its time released on the Famicom, courtesy of Baltron's developer, Shoei System. Let's do it. Oh no. What is this mess? Well, I shouldn't say mess, that's a little too mean. I mean, for a television game, this game looks really damn good. No wait, I did say this was on the Famicom, right? Dang, my mistake. Yeah, this game is butt ugly. Not even Kenshiro gets a face, and this guy's pants serve as a really good camouflage. Once again, we have a pretty lame beat-em-up trying to capture the success of Irem's Kung Fu Master, actually a lot like Sega's game. But at least I can say, as boring as that game was, someone actually spent time programming on it. Toei, on the other hand, was probably like, oh snap, someone's making a video game of this anime we produced and Bandai's not behind it? Shoei, get to working fast. And a week later, no wait, that's too good. 5 days later, no, sorry, let's try this again. 3 days later, Shoei delivered the game to the Toei offices. FamiThon! Kusoge Bachoku Teniku! I guess if there's one positive I can give is that, at the very least, it does feel a lot like its source material. You can definitely tell this is a Hokuto no Ken game, that's for sure, and attacking any enemy kills them in one hit, alongside a scream of pain and then explode, just like in the anime. And you know, I don't know how to describe it, but this sound is just hilarious to me. Also, a 1986 Famicom game recreating Kenshiro's trademark with its sound capabilities is also a nice touch. I guess there is a little joy one can pull out of this game. And that's the key to finding any enjoyment out of this game, finding the little joys. Because I'm getting a little annoyed. It feels like I'm not getting anywhere in this game. I'm just killing an endless string of moves while the level just repeats itself. Guess what? It is repeating itself. I'm sure this was in the manual, but to get to the second section of the level, you need to enter the doorway that has either Bat or Lin peeking out of it. Bat and Lin being the two kids Ken befriends at the beginning of the series. And as far as I know, if you miss that chance, there's no way to enter it again. Neither of them will show up and you have to live in mook purgatory until you lose a life. But now that we know, let's actually enter it. And it's the first door you come across. So what's really the point of designing an entire level? Just to throw off new players? Explained in the manual or not, that's just a garbage form of game design. Have every level mean something. And if that's not bad enough, how do you enter the door? Sadly, not just by pressing up. Up has Ken do this awkward jump thing, and to be perfectly fair to this game, pressing up to enter doors in video games hasn't been established yet. I can't think of a single game so far where you press up to enter a door, and if it did, it was obviously too obscure to remember. So what is Shoei System's button input to enter the door? Select, does nothing. Start, pauses. Up jumps, down crouches, and B and A punches and kicks. So that must mean it has to be multiple buttons. Get this. Up, A and B lets you walk in. Well, that's super complicated. And because the programming in this game sucks major ass, sometimes it won't even register unless you're in a super specific spot or press the 3 buttons correctly. I don't know. Bottom line, it sucks, but you know how to enter the second part of the game now. And it's more the same, except Bat or Lin will show up at the very first door you see, and after jamming on the buttons a couple of times to walk through it, it will take you right back out to the first part of the stage. Are you fucking kidding me? No, seriously, are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously, this cannot be legitimate game design anyone thought was good. Couldn't this just be a straight clone of Kung Fu Master, not trying to reinvent the wheel in a bunch of head-ass ways? If you do go through the right door in the second part, it'll eventually lead to the boss, the first one being Heart, one of the early adversaries in the series, and he'll kick your ass in seconds. And then it's right back to the beginning to retrace your steps. I did manage to defeat Heart, but playing the game a second time, I did find out that you can defeat Heart very similar to how Ken defeated him in the actual source material, kicking away at his fat and then punching him straight in the stomach. And then some text comes on the screen similar to the show, and Kenshiro performs a Hokuto Shinken technique, and wait a minute. Is this some actual creativity at show here? You make the most stale and uninteresting beat-em-up I've ever seen so far in this project, and now all of a sudden you want to make a nice touch? Alright, Shoei. Alright. After that, the levels get more maze-like as you get further into the game, such as in level 2 where it makes you go through 3 doors instead of 2. Let me be perfectly honest. While this game is a beat-em-up, I have no incentive to fight the various mooks that show up to face me. In Sega's game, with much tighter controls and level structure, makes it important to fight down the baddies while also giving you something to do. You can't outrun them, unlike in Shoei's game where you can and it's not even a big deal. The only real challenge coming from it is that some of the off-screen enemies throw projectiles at you, whittling down your damage unfairly. You know, in previous episodes I did jump to conclusions about a game's quality way too fast, and in this current iteration of the series, I'm trying to see the best in everything. But I'm willing to say that Hokuto no Ken for the Famicom is indeed the worst licensed game for the Famicom. And maybe the NES altogether, although there are some good qualifiers for that title. I absolutely refuse to believe it gets any worse than this, although wait for me to be proven wrong. Although surprisingly, this was only the beginning of Toei's Hokuto no Ken video game series, racking up a whopping 7 titles made between 1986 and 93 for both the Famicom and Super Famicom. And considering both the manga and anime ended in 1988, Toei was willing to ride any relevance it had into the ground, as it made the series follow whatever big trend there was in video games: beat-em-ups, RPGs, and fighting games, all with Shoei at the driver's seat for all 7 games. And if you didn't think things could get worse than that, how about a bunch of patchy slot titles during the PS2 era? Eh? And now you know why I relate this franchise to Superman. Yare yare daze. No, sorry. Wrong series.